Okay, hopefully we now have some people out of the waiting room and into our webinar. Thanks for your patience. These first few minutes, I'm just going to keep looking for other prospective students and families who might be interested. So bear with us a little bit, but we just want to take a second and welcome you to our information webinar. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. We also want to be transparent with you up front and let you know that if it seems like we are a little bit disjointed, it's true because we have staff members on both sides of the country. Anj and Leah, who will introduce themselves in a second, are in the office in Montana, and I, Dalton, I'm in Connecticut right now on a recruiting trip. So we are going to try our best to put this together as fluidly as possible. Just quickly, a couple things before we start. Our goal is to try to keep this recording on the website. So for that reason, you guys can just try to look for your video screen and minimize your video. And then what we'll do is, and keep your audio off, and then you should be able to see a chat function. And as we kind of go through things, just use that chat function to put any questions you have in, and then at the end, we will try to address those individually. Yeah, the goal of the webinar is just to provide you guys all with an overview of our program, share out some examples of our mission and action, and provide some details of each of the semesters, and then also just go through some of the specifics of the 2019-2020 application process. So before we go any further, we'll click our videos on and introduce ourselves as an office. Maybe Anj, are you guys there too?
Yep, we're here.
Oh, awesome. So I guess I'll start and just say hello to everyone. My name is Dalton McCurdy, and I am the admissions manager at the traveling school. So in terms of when you might come in contact with me, I'm kind of the point person for prospective students, prospective families, trying to provide information about what the programs might be like, and also that process of how to apply. I'm also someone who can connect you with alumna families and alumna students if you have questions as you go through that.
Perfect, thanks Dalton. And I'm Anj Thomas. I'm one of the two program directors. In my role, I oversee the fall semester, which is in Southern Africa. And so if you are applying for the fall semester, we'll get to know each other during the admissions process with Dalton, and then work together all the way through the semester. And then big part of the program director role is to be the main liaison between parents and students when they're out in the field, since they don't travel with any tech. So we do a lot of email communication, a lot of phone communication, and then also with Dalton coordinate the blog to keep you posted with what's going on while there's a semester out. And Leah is actually she will pop in here again, but she's helping somebody get onto this webinar. So we'll pop her face back in when we can, so that you can get to know her through the screen as well. But we won't delay any further, just so that we can keep this rolling. Like Dawn said, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we can answer a lot of your questions as you get ready to apply. So I'm going to turn off my video and let's get rolling.
Awesome. Thanks, Anj.
Yeah.
So just like we were saying, we hope this webinar helps you envision what a semester with TTS will look like, both as a parent and as a student. I do want to say, unfortunately, we had an alumna who was set to join us for the webinar, but her high school math exam got in the way. So she's taking that right now. But we are happy to connect you with alumna at the end of this. If you have any specific questions, I think it's also really important to get the perspective of a family or a student that's gone through this program. So we are happy to make those connections for you later on. So yeah, let's get started. Awesome. At the Traveling School, we believe that informed, inspired, and confident young women can change the world. We really see females being able to empower females, and we see our students as the future change makers with the capacity to push limits, break ceilings, and be leaders. Since 2003, the Traveling School has cultivated global engagement, leadership, and confidence in almost 400 young women now. We base our program on 4 pillars: experiential academics, global engagement, outdoor adventure, and leadership development. And we'll go into some specifics on those in a little bit. Before Leah and Anj go into the specifics of the 2 semesters, I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of our program. In general, each semester is 15 weeks long with 16 students and 4 teachers living, learning, and exploring together. It gets pretty cozy, and you definitely form a pretty strong bond. Students take 6 place-based experiential classes and participate in over 20 hours of community service. Just to kind of go over the places where you would go on either semester. Every fall, our group explores Southern Africa, starting in Zambia, and you go to Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. And then every spring, the semester will be in South America, will be in Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. And we're actually getting ready for that one right now. Teachers come in at the end of next week to start prepping.
Awesome. So our classes are all around us when we're at the Traveling School. As you can see from this photo, we don't rely on 4 walls and technology. Instead, our academic schedule is responsive to our surroundings and the opportunities that present themselves as we travel through a region. Students are engaged in relevant coursework presented by their teachers, local community members, and their geographic surroundings. Classes are immersive and can happen anywhere. And sorry, we're letting somebody else in here, so a little bit of multitasking. And this could be you right here, potentially studying science, watching the elephant behavior in Botswana. You might also be doing a science field journal, or you could be writing a global studies paper about the effects of tourism and conservation that you learned while you were on a safari earlier that morning, or while meeting with park rangers. And here's another sample of the experiential classes. You can see we work with kids at local schools. There's also a picture there studying geology by overlooking the layers of a mesa. Students are studying flamingos in Bolivia and also doing a walking art tour. Other days, you may walk through history as you explore Incan civilization before arriving at the gates of Machu Picchu. You may meet influential community people like freedom fighters who fought alongside Nelson Mandela to end apartheid. You could potentially take an immersive language seminar from a native language speaker. And while that's all happening, your teachers are carefully tracking academic hours for each class, whether it's a sit-down lecture, a historic tour, or a guest speaker, or heck, maybe even an exam. And the Traveling School regularly exceeds the average US standards for classroom hours. Each student is required to take 6 classes during the semester. We've tried to break them up here for you to see the required classes, global studies, and PE and independent life skills. And those are on both semesters. And then in the spring, students are also required to take one of the 3 Spanish classes. Some students come with no background in Spanish, and others are nearly fluent. And we mesh all of those together and have a great experiential semester where everybody gains a lot of skills with their Spanish confidence and conversational abilities. And then in the other column, that recommended courses, you can see that we have history, literature, and natural science, and those are all place-based courses that depend on the region that we are in. You can see that these classes are standalone, yet they start to commingle. So history doesn't end just when that period is over. These concepts trickle into other courses so that each student can develop a bigger perspective of how they fit into the real world. And then finally, down at the bottom, there's a list of supplementary classes, and these are offered based on the number of students each semester, and they also vary by semester. So reach out if you have questions about those courses, and we can talk through the academics a little bit more.
All right, so what does a traveling school student look like? The traveling school student is academically curious and ready to engage with the world around them. They're willing to live out of a backpack or a duffel bag. They're highly motivated, adventurous, and fun. They want to be challenged, and they're ready to push their comfort zone. They're willing to adapt to new situations and environments. They are seeking this experience because they are seeking a challenging academic learning experience in a non-traditional setting. Some students are hoping to differentiate themselves in college applications. And of course, students are interested in other cultures. And lastly, they're excited to build a supportive and inclusive community of young women traveling through the world. Typically, students are from all over the United States, and we have the occasional international student. And students range in grades from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and are from public, private, and homeschool settings. All right, now about your teachers. Who will you be learning from, cheered on, and inspired by on a traveling school semester? This is a picture of the teachers from our last fall semester, and some words on the screen are what the traveling school students have called their teachers to describe them. So you will have 4 teachers typically. They're experienced world travelers and educators. They teach all your classes. They also act as your mentor, both formally and informally. And what that means is that each student is assigned to a mentor, one of the teachers, and they help support you and check in with you during the semester. But really, every teacher becomes a mentor in some way. They also act as your international and cultural guides, and so much more. And a typical alumni would say that although they're called teachers, they become way more than that. They're your teacher, your mentor, your friend, the nurse, all the things that you can imagine when you live and explore the world right next to these women.
And in addition to experiential academics, we have 3 other pillars: outdoor adventure, global engagement, and leadership development. And these are all woven into day-to-day experiences while at the traveling school. To be adventurous, you need to be engaged with your surroundings, and to succeed in the outdoors and global setting, you need to cultivate your leadership voice and style. Students will participate in a variety of outdoor activities like backpacking through Peru, canoeing the Orange River, bouncing between the borders of Namibia and South Africa, mountaineering in Bolivia, and sand sledding in Namibia. This component of outdoor education builds strong leadership and communication skills, empowering young women through hands-on experiences and adventures that push limits, develop new skill sets, and grow confidence.
Our next pillar, global engagement, is focused on cultural interaction and learning about the communities you're traveling through. So through this experience, we call it that you'll really become a world citizen. In that way that you'll meet people, you'll learn about their perspectives and their backgrounds. You'll learn from others, hear their stories, and be inspired then to go home and create change at home and in your future. So some specific examples of the things that we do, the traveling school, include you'll spend class hours learning directly from community members, and you'll connect with different cultures through community service projects and working with your local guides. Additionally, each semester participates in a week-long homestay. In South America, you will be in Ecuador in a rural community there, and in the Southern Africa semester, you'll be just outside of Cape Town, living with a family for 1 week. And lastly, a big component in the South America semester is the Spanish language study.
So this final pillar of leadership is really a product of the three previously mentioned pillars. By pushing limits academically and physically through these experiences and interactions, our students gain confidence in themselves and their abilities to do more than they ever imagined they could. By being in this group setting, pushing limits, and working through some kind of self-work and thinking about skills and strengths they might bring to the table, students are really able to think about what kind of leader they want to be and have opportunities to actually put that into practice throughout the trip.
All right, a day in the life of the traveling school is structured, but it's nothing that is routine. No 2 days are ever the same. And to try to help students understand what's happening, every weekend during the semester, teachers give a weekly forecast of travel plans, activities, and courses. And then each night, they hone that overview in and present the schedule for the upcoming day on a whiteboard. We intentionally make these schedules on whiteboards because they continuously shift and we need to be responsive to change and to our surroundings. So you can see one example of a whiteboard schedule pictured there. Students are involved in every portion of the day, from helping prepare meals to cleaning up campsites to packing and then to moving the group gear in the library from place to place. A day at the traveling school means being community-oriented, flexible, ready to play a game, or hurry up and wait as a planned activity gets shuffled around. Okay, so I think you've caught on by now, but the fall semester is in Southern Africa. We have the two programs, like we've mentioned. In the Southern Africa semester, we travel on a huge overland truck, and we visit Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. And we also travel with a driver and a cook on this big truck. We camp all along the way, and as you're thinking about camping, think about a KOA campsite. Typically there's showers, there's running water, there's often shady areas for classes throughout each spot. And here are some common scenes from the Southern Africa semester. On the bottom right, you can see how big that truck is, as a couple people are getting items out of those basically cupboards and getting the kitchen set up. And then the bottom left is a PE circle with students doing some yoga on their mats. The upper left corner is kind of a camp life setting. Students are working away, sitting in their chairs. You can see again, it's that circle theme. And then if you look to the background, you can see some of the tents there. And that last picture is a picture with one of our host families in, just like Leo was saying, outside of Cape Town. We've worked with these families for many years and love offering traveling school, these families love offering traveling school students a few luxuries that aren't normally with them on the semester. So the opportunity to sleep in beds, have a fridge, maybe go shopping for personal groceries, cook their own meals, and a washing machine. And they do this all while sharing stories of their lives and learning about yours. All right, we've got one more here about Southern Africa. I'm just mentioning this semester is on the hotter side, with some days well over 100 degrees. And then before you know it, you'll be dancing to the rains and cooling off in South Africa. Throughout the semester, you'll scout for animals on safaris, interact with people who speak over 10 languages, one of those being English. And you'll also learn how to roll and unroll your tent in a flash. Oops.
All right, so the spring semester to South America, we travel through Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, and the semester dates are February 1st to May 15th. We spend about 5 weeks each in each of these countries. So this is a scene from a typical backpacking portion of this semester. So on the South America semester, you mostly live in hostels, but you do a fair amount of backpacking, or trekking, as we call it. It is at high altitude and it is over long distances. So if you're excited to push yourself physically, in this way. This is a great experience. And here are just a few other pictures of day-to-day life on the South America semester. So some things to think about is that instead of camping the whole time, you stay in hostels. So there's a hostel bed strewn with academic calendars and all sorts of packing items in the upper right. So you typically stay in a hostel except for the times when you're backpacking. Upper left, that is an example of a public bus. So you travel from town to town in local transportation. Lower left is just a street view of a typical small town in South America. So you get to kind of base out of these small towns and get some time exploring the local shops. And in the center, we have a picture of our homestay families. So on this semester, you stay in a small rural village in Ecuador with a Quechua family. This homestay experience is very rustic compared to staying in a hostel. The exciting thing is that you'll learn about traditional Quechua culture, you'll learn about the impact of Spanish colonization still felt today, and your Spanish skills will grow immensely because your family will speak Spanish. And lastly, bottom right, for eating, you do a lot of eating out at local restaurants and trying different foods. So you never know what you might get to eat that night, but typically you're out in local restaurants for breakfast, lunches, and dinners.
All right, and so while all this is going on, and as you're thinking about a semester, I'm sure that this idea of safety and risk management comes to many people's minds, especially parents that are on right now, and it should be that way. It's always on our mind over here, and we recognize that it's imperative with our programming. We acknowledge that risk is all around us, no matter where we are, from our hometowns to international travel. And our job as a school is to make informed decisions to maintain our risk management goals. And we know that everyone is responsible for upholding risk management practices, and students will be taught how to acknowledge and identify various risks during their overseas orientation and throughout the semester. This is a big topic, and there will be plenty of opportunities to discuss it during admissions, but also, again, feel free to call if you have specific questions about one of our regions. I'm just gonna throw in here that students are always on a buddy system, and they have check-in times, and it varies by location to location, but there's rarely a time when students are alone unless they're at their hostel or a campground. And that would be alone in a room or something like that. There's always a teacher on campus with the girls.
Awesome. Well, now that we've provided you with an overview of the programs, we want to spend a little bit of time breaking down the nitty-gritty of the admissions process. So currently we are accepting applications for the 2019-2020 semesters. Regardless of which semester you are interested in, those applications are due on February 1st. And what that process looks like is if you go onto our website and click on our admissions page, you will see hyperlinks to all of the following things. First, we ask that you look over the essential eligibility criteria. That is simply a document that really outlines some of the expectations on the trip, and it's really just a guide to help you understand the realities of the program and make sure it is a good fit for you. After that, you can click on the online application and complete that. There is a student section as well as a parent section. And then once you submit that, there are also 2 letters of recommendation that we ask for, as well as an academic credit transfer form. And we have that document on the website along with course outlines for the fall and the spring semesters. And we recommend you making an appointment with your guidance counselor and bringing the academic course outline and the academic credit transfer form in, and sharing those documents with the counselor. And then once you get that form signed, you'll send that on to us. And that's kind of the first piece. Those are the first pieces of the process that are due on February 1st. And then once we have all of those kind of prerequisites in order, the next step after that February 1st date is then we reach out and schedule 2 sets of interviews. We schedule a student interview, and that is with me and the student. It's an opportunity to get to know each other a little better. It's an opportunity for the student to ask questions about our program. And then there's also a parent interview that is run by Leah or Anj, and that same situation is just an opportunity for both parties to get to know each other a little bit better. We understand the importance of that, as we are in an office that a lot of people are not close to, and kind of that's for a lot of it. That's the first time that the 2 parties get to actually interact face to face. So the last piece to talk about is tuition and affordability. And we need to say up front that we know that the semester is a lot, but we truly see the value in this long-term investment. And we are dedicated to making this a reality for all students. We want any driven young woman who wants to attend to be able to. And so for that reason, we offer financial aid. There are also merit scholarships available. And we also try to support students in fundraising for their semester. If you go online under the tuition and affordability tab, there is a fundraising toolkit that a lot of our alumni have used to raise money for their own semesters as well. So we just threw a lot of information at you. And now take a second to reflect on it. And if you have any questions, please type them in to the box, the chat box, and we will try to respond as best we can.
So we have one question here, and maybe I'll turn it over to Leah. Somebody's asking, how do I communicate with my daughter? Will she bring a phone or a laptop?
Well, that's a great question. So we like to say that we are fully immersed and technology free. And what that means is that students don't bring computers, don't bring we do bring cameras, so you don't bring cell phones. So the only technology you bring is a camera, a small device to play music on, and the teachers have cell phones for logistical purposes. So we're pretty tech-free, which is a really unique experience, I think, in this day and age, to be able to not be tied to your cell phone for 3.5 months, and our students tend to really enjoy it. In terms of communication, the traveling school organizes a phone call between students and parents every 10 days to 2 weeks throughout the semester. And that's a guaranteed half an hour to be able to chat with your daughter, and we help organize that. And then otherwise there's, it depends on the semester if there's email access, so that varies, but we try not to rely on that too much. Yeah.
Well, another question is about the food and what that's like. Each semester is a little bit different. Leah kind of talked through the spring semester, more eating out at restaurants and things like that. The fall semester, I briefly mentioned that we do travel with a driver and a cook, and that cook helps us oversee meals, and then the students all help with some of the cooking pieces. So I would say on the fall semester, pretty common breakfasts are yogurt and granola, or milk and cereal with some fruit. Oftentimes they make toast on the fire and then have coffee and tea available. Lunch is often a sandwich spread, whether that's all vegetarian or if there's some meat options, just depends on where they're at. If the group's in a campsite for the day, oftentimes our cook we'll prepare something like a pasta salad or egg salad for sandwiches are a couple examples that come to mind. And then dinners range from anything from a common spaghetti with red sauce to stir fries to more traditional meals of that region. So they're pretty varied. We can accommodate food allergies, but we want to talk through that and just make sure that it's appropriate based on each semester. And same thing, we have vegetarians on every semester. We have meat lovers. We have people who, like to eat big meals or just small meals or have snacks during the day. And so those things we're all used to, but we just want to make sure that that conversation is flowing before a semester begins. We know how to prepare and support that, and also kind of what the extent of the allergy is. Leah, do you have anything else on food or spring semester?
Yeah, so spring semester, like I said, you kind of eat out a little bit more, and so that's why we can't accommodate quite as many food allergies depending on what they are, just because we're eating at restaurants and we can't make certain guarantees. So if you have questions about that, you can definitely reach out to us and we can talk through that. But a lot of the breakfasts are eggs and toast and coffee, or toast and jam. A lot of South American dinners can also be carb heavy, so we do a lot of rice and veggies and a lot of pastas. And you'll also get the chance to, of course, try cuy, which is guinea pig, and that's a delicacy in South America. So you get to be adventurous and try some new things as well, which is the one exciting thing about international travel.
Awesome. We're having some issues with our chat, so I think we might, and I think we're doing okay on time. We might just go ahead and turn on some audio, and then if you have a question, please pipe in. So give us a second as we go through, and if you have background noise on, make sure please turn it off, and then you can also remute yourself should you choose to. So I'm going to go through and try to unmute everybody, and then feel free to chat.
Dad, is the school going?
All right, so some of you, it looks like your audio should be on. I think some people chose to mute themselves. So I'll turn it over. If anybody has a question, feel free to be brave and pipe in.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just gonna read my question. Sorry. So, I'm Zoe, and I just had a really quick question. Like, though I'm like fully capable of like writing down assignments by hand, I like do have a laptop accommodation for certain assignments. So I was wondering, like, would I be able to bring my laptop? And like, if not, like, I believe it's fine.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we definitely accommodate different, accommodations. And it's definitely on a one-by-one basis. So we have students who, with a laptop accommodation, maybe they don't bring a laptop, but they bring like an iPad with a keyboard sort of thing. So yeah, we are happy to talk through that. It's definitely not like a no-go situation. We just want to chat more and see what you need, and we can make that work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I have a couple questions.
Great.
Can we, about the timeline for the interviews and also the notification of acceptance and orientation?
Yeah, good questions. So let's see, timing for interviews. Our goal is to get those, sorry that there's a beeping in there. Our goal is to have our student interviews starting about the second week of February so that we have time to review applications, and then going through early to mid-March. And parent interviews or question and answers happen in that same time frame. We like to have the conversation with students first and then follow it up with the parent Q&A, but if it happens out of order, that's totally fine. And then with that, our goal is to have acceptance letters in the mail about the 1st of April. And then we request a response in about 2 weeks, so April 15th-ish. And so that's the same for both semesters. And then the fall semester has a faster turnaround where we all meet in the departure city in the States on the 19th or 20th of August, and then fly from there. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. I have one more question.
Sure.
Is there an opportunity to learn any African languages like Afrikaans?
There definitely is. I would say sometimes we have guest speakers come in and kind of teach about the basics. It is a very tricky language, so you'll pick up different phrases and different sayings, and the more willing you are to chat with people throughout South Africa, the more you'll pick up. And most of the host families do speak Afrikaans, and that is one of oftentimes their first language, and English is their second. So yeah, that opportunity is out there along with all sorts of other languages. Both our driver and cook speak Shona, and they love to share that language. And that one is fairly, well, I shouldn't say easy, but once you get the hang of it, you can learn a few phrases in that too.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
My name is Grace, and I have a quick question. I need a portfolio to present back to my school for possible credit transfers, and I was curious that if the assignments are done on computer, how exactly are they going to be completed? Is that all paper or stuff along that line?
Yeah, so great question. They're done by hand. So it depends on the class, on the type of projects, but you're gonna do everything from write papers by hand to do your science projects by hand, to field journals by hand, math tests by hand. And the teachers can, typically what they do is they grade them and then return them to you, so you have those. So you could create your portfolio from that. And we're also happy to work with your school ahead of time and provide some sample, you know, what our transcript looks like and all of that, so they could help get some information ahead of time. We like to make sure that schools understand our academics, and will make the credit transfer easier if we talk through some of that early on. But yeah.
And then, Grace, can I add to that as well? If you were to look on the semester blog, so the most recent one is from this past fall in Southern Africa, there are examples of student work. Specifically, Leah was referencing the science journals. You can see some examples of that up on that blog. And that's also a great place just to get an idea for kind of the flow of academics as well as experiences throughout the semester.
And I'll just add on to that, Dalton and I were talking today as she's out on the road doing some recruiting and everything and talking with various schools. And some schools don't understand what a semester school is because it does have different wording than a, you know, study abroad program or something like that. So it might take some back and forth with you and your school and with us involved, and that's definitely part of the process. So don't shy away from giving us a call while you're in talking with your guidance counselor, or doing, you know, CCing us on emails, or just letting us know that you're having trouble with your school, so that we can help with that. Okay, that's the art of waiting as a teacher. Sounds like there aren't any more questions, and a lot of people have gone ahead and turned off their mic.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
oh.
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
My mom just asked me to ask, like, who might be the best person for like for my academic dean to like call?
Yeah, either they can just call the office and we can direct them to the right person. So our office has 6 people in it, but Leah, myself, or Dalton could all answer those questions. And then another key person is our head of school and executive director, Jennifer Royal.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more question. Are the classes pass or fail, or they're like graded classes?
They're all graded classes except for the PE and iLife class. That is pass fail.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, I have a question.
Great.
How much luggage does an individual student pack?
Oh, such a good question. We give, in the enrollment binder, there's a pretty extensive packing list, and the goal is to stay under 50 pounds in your big bag. So in the fall, students pack in a duffel bag, and then spring semester students carry more of a backpacking backpack. And then all students also have another day pack with them. So that's maybe another, I don't know, what you say, 10-ish pounds, Leah? So it feels like a tight fit in those bags, but that's the goal, to stay underweight for the airlines, and where that 50-pound limit comes in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good questions.
Hello? Sorry. One more question. I was just wondering, like, if you're taking an AP math next year, how do you guys like handle like that math requirement?
Yeah, that's a good one. We can't accommodate the AP level classes because one is just the limited number of teachers that we have. So only 4 teachers managing all the classes. But then also for our spring semester, they're often not back in time to take the AP exam. So we definitely talk about that in the admissions process, to think through how to set up your schedule for the upcoming year, the 2019-2020 year. And then, I'll go back to one of my favorite phrases that our now retired vice principal would always say, is that it's the AP experience, but not the class. So you'll learn how to think like you would in an AP class. So really learn to critically think, be able to defend different perspectives, be able to have debates and counter on those perspectives, and maybe even be fighting for a perspective that you don't actually agree with. So it's that type of experience, but not the AP class level.
Yeah, and I would say, each student handles that differently when they forego a semester at their home high school to join the traveling school. And it's a good conversation to have with your counselor. It's how do you get creative? Is there a way to postpone that class and take it the following year? Is there a way to fill in that semester you're going to miss during the summertime? And sometimes students also just forego the particular AP class and don't take it again. But that's really, there's lots of different ways to get at that, and we're happy to brainstorm with you and also have that conversation with your guidance counselor as well. Just getting creative to work around that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is a question from a mom. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the mix or the diversity of girls that you choose. Are they different ages, from different locations across the country, etc.?
Yeah, so age-wise, they're 15 to 18 years old, and we get a pretty even spread amongst those ages. They are across the U.S. This coming semester, we have somebody from Maine to California to Wisconsin to Montana, Rhode Island, so all over the U.S. with the occasional international student. And I would say our students are pretty split public-private schools, depending on where they're coming from, and we definitely get homeschool students. And we also split pretty evenly rural-urban. So in terms of, where they're coming from, their hometown, both rural and urban students.
Hi, I have another question. So I'm deciding between which semester to apply for, and I was wondering if you guys know if it's easier to start off in the fall and then rejoin your regular school year, or is it easier to leave halfway through the school year?
It's the ongoing debate. So hard to answer that one. And I think that's one that on your application, you can check either semester, and then we can talk with you about that. Some schools have their particular way that they would guide you to doing a semester program. Other schools are open to students attending fall or spring. Some things to consider: the fall students come back in early December and oftentimes have, up to 6 weeks until they start their second semester. And so finding things to do in there while the rest of your friends are going to school. Spring semester students have the summer to kind of transition back home, make plans for the next school year, and spend time with their friends. I will say that no matter which semester you go on, a lot of our students find it hard to just find that same energy in the classroom again. And that's where we work with you to recognize that there's other ways to engage, and there's always opportunities in every setting. So we want to carry this inspiration forward. And so each semester we'll do that for you. It's just a little bit of, you could think about, are you somebody who loves to backpack and thrives in the colder climates and potentially higher altitudes? Or do you want to go see the African animals and go on safaris, and maybe you love the hot weather and you're curious about what that scene could look like? Some students really like that Spanish component, and I shouldn't even say like, but need that Spanish component for school. So yeah, it's all over the board, and I think something that Dalton can chat with you about during a student interview.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
And we're also happy to connect you with alumni from each semester, and you can talk to them directly about what transitioning home felt like, or what each semester is like. So we can do that.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, just let us know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any more questions out there?
And I would also just say, if once we sign off and that question comes from you 15 minutes from now that you really wished you had asked, please reach out to us, give us a call, send us an email. I think on the final slide we're going to show you in a second, we have that contact information. But we would love to answer those questions or connect you with someone who can give you a different perspective on those questions. Another great thing, if you look at our social media icons, if you have an Instagram account or a Facebook account, if you follow us on those, we try to post a few pictures a week of the semesters in action, and that also might foster some new questions that you have. You could reach out about as well, and also just give you an idea of what the semester looks like in action.
Perfect. All right, well, thanks to everybody for tuning in. It always feels weird when we can't see each other, but we are here to chat with you, answer your questions, and support the application process. So we'll keep saying this, but call or email or stop in if you're local. And and just know that we're here to chat through the process. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.